your thumbs up if you can hear this all right. Oh, well, let's get that little alarm off and we'll be good to go. Please, thank you. There we go. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. As you know, it's Paul here at the WarHQ, and welcome to the Sunday briefing. Right. So if you're new here, every Sunday night we go live and work through bolt action properly, rules, tactics, army lists, no fluff, just game. And tonight we're going to do something I've been wanting to cover for a little while, solo wargaming for bolt action, how to actually run it, how to make it useful, how to build lists and give you a genuine challenge when there's no opponent across the table. I can already see some of you in the chat, and welcome back. Good to see you all. If you're joining us for the first time, just drop hello in the chat below and tell me where you're watching from. That would be really nice to see. And yeah, so here's what we'll be covering tonight. We're going to look at the solo system, how to run the opponent without playing favorites, mission selection, which ones work solo, which ones don't, list building for solo play and why it's one of the best prep tools you've got for preparing for competitions and things. And then we're going to go straight into army list reviews if there's any on there. You've already been dropping lists and comments this week, so we'll have a look and see what's going on there. So we will do rapid fire questions and answers at the end, and we'll give you a wrap up and then have a look and see what we're likely to be doing next week, depending on the feedback I get from tonight. So the first section we're going to go off, if I readjust the camera a little bit, it's going to be solo wargaming with bolt action. So most people think that solo bolt action is something you do when you can't find an opponent, and that's sort of wrong, really. The players who get better fastest, the ones who turn up to tournaments and surprise everybody, they're the ones who've been grinding solo games all week, possibly. Not because they had no choice, but because they understood something that the rest kind of didn't. Now, a quick one for the chat right now. Have you ever played bolt action solo? Yes or no? Just drop it down below. Solo play isn't really the consolation prize. It can be looked on as a training tool. And tonight I'm going to show you exactly how you could be using it. And here's the thing about bolt action that makes solo play uniquely powerful. And this is different to a lot of other war games. The order dice activation system, you know, most games you move all your guys and then I move all mine, clean, predictable. Bolt action really isn't like that. Every single activation is a dice pool from a shared bag, and you never know who's going next. So when you're playing solo, you're not just pretending to be two players. You're actually running the same uncertainty that the game already gives you. The randomness is kind of baked into that. You're not making it up. You're just managing both sides of a system that already doesn't really care who you are. That distinction matters because it means that solo bolt action isn't a lesser version of the game. It's the same game. You're just general to both sides of the table. And this is where most people really get it consistently wrong. They try to think for both sides and they end up playing favorites. You give yourself a better activation. You hesitate when your opponent should be aggressive, and the whole thing falls apart because you're in your own head, kind of. So here's the rules that kind of fix that. And remember, if it's one thing from this segment tonight, it's this. The opponent doesn't think. The opponent follows a set of rules in solo. And we'll get into exactly what those rules look like in just a minute. The simplest solo system, and honestly the one I'd recommend if you're just starting out, is what I call the priority target rule. You don't decide what the opponent does. You set a decision tree before the game starts. No deviation. And here's how it works. When an opponent unit activates, ask yourself 3 questions in this order. 1, can this unit fire on a target? If yes, it fires. on the highest priority visible target. The priority order is firing at officers first, support weapons second, and everything else by proximity. 2. Can this unit move towards an objective or an enemy? If yes, it does. Move first and then fire if the order allows it. 3. Can this unit do neither usefully? It goes down, pins cost you, and the opponent knows that too. And that's it. 3 questions. You're not inventing tactics for the opponent. You're applying a rule set. And here's why that works. Because bolt action rewards whoever controls the dice sequence, not whoever has the cleverest pan. Well, at least not necessarily. So the opponent doesn't need a clever plan. It just needs to keep activating aggressively, and randomness of the bag does the rest. So does that make sense so far? Chuck a thumbs up in the chat if that priority clicks, or give me a thumbs down if it stinks. Now, you can scale this up as you get more comfortable. Add moral thresholds. If the opponent loses 40% of its force, it stops advancing and goes fully defensive. Add a reserve roll mechanic for flanking, but start simple. 3 questions, it kind of works. Not every bolt action mission is built for solo play. Some of them require genuine human decision making on a setup or objective choices, and that breaks a decision tree. So let's give you the ones that work the best and the ones to kind of avoid. So the best for solo play, these are the best ones. First contact. This one is the one I always recommend first. 500 points, simple objective, both sides advance. The opponent decision tree runs clean from turn 1, no complications. And at 500 points, it kind of is a good place to start when you're playing solo to get yourself used to how this sort of decision tree works. Top Secret works brilliantly solo too, because the token mechanic creates a kind of natural tension to your game. The opponent always moves towards the token if it can. You're defending against a very predictable aggressor. Great for testing your defensive lists. Hold until relieved. One side attacks, one side defends. This is probably the best solo format in a way because the attacker role can almost be fully scripted. You run the defender, your army, your decisions, and the attacker follows the priority rules, and it feels kind of like a genuine game. The ones to avoid for solo are, first of all, point defense and any scenario with a complex pre-game setup choices. The hidden deployment mechanics need a genuine opponent for it really to work. Don't waste your time trying to fake it. Now, if you've played solo before, what mission did you use? And drop that to me in the chat, and we'll come back to these. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because if you're going to get value out of solo play, I mean real value, the opponent list can't be rubbish. You're not trying to win easily. You're trying to stress test your army. So we're using this for practice. So the first principle is build an opponent list to counter yours, not to mirror it, to specifically threaten the units that you rely on the most. If you're running a tank-heavy list, the opponent gets anti-tank assets. If you're running a veteran infantry, the opponent gets superior numbers, with regular conscripts, for example. You want to feel the pressure. The second principle really is don't over-optimize the opponent. The point isn't to build the hardest possible list, it's to build a realistic threat, the kind of army you'd face at a club night or a tournament. Look at what people are actually running in your meta. So that's in your locality. What types of armies are people running? What's kind of popular? That's a training benefit. You're not playing a puzzle, you're simulating a match. And third, and this one catches people out, match the points precisely. I've seen guys give the opponent 50 extra points just to make it harder. That's not a true test anymore. It can just be punishment. Keep it equal. If your list struggles against a properly built equal points opponent following the priority rules, that tells you something real about your list, and use it. Oh, and this is where most people skip. After the game, write it down. Which units underperformed? Where did you lose control of the activation sequence? What would you change? Solo play without a debrief is just moving models around. Solo play with a debrief is actual preparation and gets you ready for maybe going to that first tournament, maybe mixing it up a bit more with the guys at the club, trying to get that odd win. I want to spend a couple of minutes on this because it's the thing solo play develops faster than anything else. Dice pool management. In a regular game against an opponent, you're reacting. You pull a die, you respond to what just happened. You just play it. Solo play forces you to think about the sequence on both sides simultaneously, and that changes how you see the game. You start to genuinely understand why order count matters, and I've touched on this in another video. Why having one more dice in the bag than your opponent is a structural advantage, not just a nice to have. You know, when you're running both sides, you feel what it's like to be on the wrong end of that, and your opponent activates twice before you get a second pull. A unit that should have survived doesn't, and you think, right, that's why the competitive lists look like they do. Has anyone here deliberately built a list around outdicing an opponent? Let me know in the chat. Generally curious about what you're running. So the practical takeaway, use your solo games to specifically practice your activation decisions under pressure. Don't follow the path of least resistance. Advance when you normally hold back. Go down when you normally advance. See what breaks. See what works. Right. So to pull this all together, solo bot action works because the activation system is already randomized. You don't have to fake it unpredictably. It's already there. The three things that make it actually useful: 1, give your opponent a decision tree, not a brain. 3 questions, follow them every time. Pick the right mission. First contact or hold until relieved for starters. Keep it clean. And 3, build the opponent list to stress test yours. Debrief after every game and track what you change. Do that consistently and you will turn up to your next game better prepared than the guy who only plays when he can get a table. That's the edge. It's not complicated. It's just the work. Now, that's the breakdown done. And I want to hear from you guys if you've got any questions about solo play on list building or specific missions. Drop them in the chat right now. We'll work through them together. And if you've got an army list that you want me to look at for solo play viability, throw it in. That's what tonight's for. So let's have a look, see what's coming up on the questions for tonight. Well, let's have a look and see. Simon, aloha, Simon. It's a while since we've seen you. Hey, Paul, thanks for past advice. Much appreciated. Just wonder about your views on universal carriers with the HMG and anti-tank rifles. I think 90 points is a steal. Many people are playing universal carriers. It's available to British and Russians. Russians have a slightly better one. Is it Consomulet? It's very similar points, but you can actually carry 6 troops in it rather than 5. The universal carrier, you can upgrade it. Is it an HMG? I think you upgrade it with an LMG, in actual fact. And they are good value for money. Probably I would use them in a recce infantry platoon if you have the points. Depends what points you're playing at. If you have the points for it, and you want to put quite a hard mini bomb kind of squad in there, a very tough squad that's probably armed with submachine guns, or possibly if you're running Russians, an armored units, because with the body armor units, they move slow, so you need to get them up. So a recce carrier would be fantastic for that, but that's probably getting in past the new player stage. It would be interesting to see, Simon, how you get on with those. We've got one of the players up here in Scotland was quite well known for running about 3 or 4 carriers with Gurkhas in them, and that worked very, very well for him. Cool. Right, who else is on here? Hello from Newcastle, Australia. slim player base there, so keen to learn more about solo bolt action. Yeah, there's various things online giving you different ways to play solo, which is very useful. If you want me to, drop it in the notes, and I'll write up some notes on the various bits and pieces I've got here. Another way you can play it is there is an online game. What's it called? I forget. It's Tabletop Simulator. You can get Tabletop Simulator. I think it costs about £30 UK. I don't know what that would be in dollars, $60, something like that in the Australia. And once you get that fitted, not only can you play solo games on the computer, but you can play with people far away. So somewhere like Australia or America, this sort of gives you opponents you can play with an online table with all the various models. It's quite clever. I'm going to be getting into it very shortly. I'm very lucky to have enough opponents here at home, and we have quite a few competitions, and I don't have to travel hundreds and hundreds of miles necessarily to get them all. So it's a bit easier for me here in Scotland than some of you guys in the outback, or certainly in the prairies in America. But yeah, solo is a good way to start doing it. If you can con spouses or kids, fantastic. That's another way to. Fantastic. Good to see you. I think we're cutting in and out a bit there. Nice to see you all. Is there a Chinese army in it? I'm not quite sure. This is from Kevin Gallagher. I'm not quite sure what you're meaning. I'm not sure if the Chinese have a separate sheet at the moment. They might do. So if you contact me, I'll go and have a look at that, see if that's still running. I know some of the smaller armies have PDFs. So for example, the French at the moment, before their book comes out, they have a PDF list that you can use in tournaments. I'm not sure about the Chinese, actually. It's a very good question. Thank you very much. Cheers, easy rep. Yep, good, no problem. So any more questions in there, guys? If we got none in there, I'll maybe go to some of the questions that people have given me over the week or so. At the weekend, I managed to go off to a local show here in Scotland in Falkirk, Carronade, very well-known local show. And there was lots of things. If you're new to bolt action, it's well worth going to shows, trade shows, conventions, whatever you call them. It's a great weekend out. Lots of people will be demonstrating various games, not just bolt action type games. The one I was at, we had a very large D-Day display, and it was really a display table, but it was fantastic. It was probably about 16 by 16, maybe a little larger, maybe 24 by 16. And yeah, that was beautiful. There was the guys at Spit Wargaming. That's Chris Brown. Chris Brown, way back, if you remember, did the Market Garden book, which was one of the thematic theatre books that they did for version 1s and 2s. He was there, and they were doing an invasion of, where was it? The invasion of Hong Kong, which was fantastic. Again, that was about a 6 by 16 table, so big tables playing larger games, and you could join in with this particular game and, you know, take part, have a wee bit, go and look at something else. It was you could just come in and do a wee taster session with them. Who else was there? There was a display table from one of the Glasgow lot. What was that? It was just a big invasion table. Again, large table, 16 by 8 again, probably. It was Western Front, and Germans, I think, against the British. And that was lovely. Now, the other thing you can do when you go to these shows and the conventions and things, is you can hunt for bargains. There's always bargains. Now, here in the UK, Warlord will always show up with their little trade shop, which is lovely to see, and lovely to see some of the old faces from Warlord games from time to time. Some of them still remember me. But other traders will turn up. So we were getting boxes of soldiers, platoon boxes, which will normally you get your 30 troops in them. Normally cost about £35, give or take, and it was possible to find people selling those boxes for £25, so you get quite a reasonable discount. You see an awful lot of other games, participation games, where you can just join in and play for a bit. My club was running a what were they running? Because I didn't take part in it this time. It was a pillage and plunder. It was a Dark Ages game, and you could join. It took about 10 minutes to run through. Very simple, easy rules, just to give people a taste of it. That went very well, and there was lots of things. It was really quite interesting. Painting competition. It was over 3 large sports halls, so 3 halls that would take a basketball court, possibly a little bit larger. One of the halls would be larger than that. It's a really good day. Can thoroughly recommend it to anybody out there who is wanting to get into the hobby and immerse themselves. Great place for new players just to go and see other people who are interested in the hobby, if you can get to them. So that was fantastic. So that was one of the things I was up to at the weekend. Now, what have we got here? Karaticus 49. Aloha from the Isle of Wight. Complete newbie. Oh, you're welcome here. And inexperienced mortars, how do they score a hit when they are down to 1 figure, please? It's fairly straightforward, actually, Caractacus, and I'm sure the other guys will jump in if I get this wrong. I've been playing for years, but I still don't know all the rules, believe it or not. I was an international referee for this game as well, but version 3 knocked me right off. So, mortars, they just score a hit the same way as before. So having a pin on them or down to 1 man just means you need to do a morale check to be able to fire the weapon. After that, you would be scoring on a hit on a 6, or you're going to be dialing down in the normal way. The pin doesn't affect it in any other way, really. It's fairly straightforward. There's no minus to fire with mortars. So you can actually, as you can see with the inexperienced mortar, you can move it, which would normally be a -1 for the firing, if you think about it like this. And you can still fire and you hit on a 6. And then if you don't move, you can dial down to a 5 if you missed the first time, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the usual way. Hopefully that explains it for you, Karaticus 49. Let me know with a wee thumbs up if that answered it. If not, we can cover mortars for you sometime in a future video. I'd be more than happy to do that. Let's have a look. Let's see what other questions have I had recently. Let's go into the feedback here and see if I can find them. Just sing among yourselves for a wee second. Go into my community, and I want to see all of the questions. Thank you. Lots of people asking for my list. They're all very old. I want to see the up-to-date ones, not the most relevant. All. There we go. Now we'll have some questions. Let's have a look. Yes, it's a good video. Thank you. Everybody's very kind. I really appreciate it. What really helps quite a lot is if you comment on the videos. That makes a big difference to us. So one of the questions we had just in a video on doing a list for 500 points. 500 points is often where new players get started. And it was just a wee basic video just to get you started, just in case, because quite often we don't even know where to start. And we're needing to know, just what do I need to do. So when you're starting out, remember you need your officer and you need 2 infantry units is your basic build. And then you're adding bits and pieces onto then. It's something we're going to be planning to run on the channel is getting just a platoon box, usually 30 figures for bolt action, and seeing, let's build a 500 point list just out of that. So it keeps it down to about £30, Great British, 30, £35 for a box of soldiers. And you can easily make a 500 point army out of that. You can have a little competition with yourself, see how many points, how big a pointed army you can make out of one box of Warlord bolt action figures. I think I have had it up past 1,000, but it's an interesting thing, and we can go in. Now, the 500 point list that I did was what was it now? It was a British list, and we've had several requests for doing other armies. So rather than use Easy Army, I'm going to go and do a video where we use Warlord's app, which I really, really like, but it is a paid-for app. So, I don't think it costs a lot. It's only about 10, 15 quid, something like that. I can't even remember now. But I like it a lot. I like it better than Easy Army. The Warlord app is just about always correct. It's very hard to find mistakes in there, whereas Easy Army does have quite a few mistakes, and I think it's Greg doesn't always update it as quickly as possible. So we'll go in and we'll show you the Warlord one so you can see the two. And then the other request that I had from that was people wanting, so where do we go next? And why am I taking this infantry unit or that infantry unit, which is a slightly different question. This is just a list to get you started, so you know what to build out of your plastic soldiers. So we might look a bit deeper into what units you might want to choose and why you might want to choose them. Now, Karatkis message there, only played 4 games with a friend who is also new to playing. Fantastic. So still coming to terms for the rules. Oh, fantastic. They've been playing the Mortar rules. Correct. Well done. If you need any help or your pals needing any help, please don't hesitate to contact me at YouTube or all the usual channels, and we'll be happy to look forward to that for you. Now, where are we up to? Oh, we're doing pretty well. So, what to talk about next? So, some of the things that we've got coming on the channel. So we're going to carry on with the new 2 bolt action series of videos. They seem to be helping a lot of people. We get a lot of lovely comments of folk about them. So we're going to carry on those for people that are getting into the game. When I go to tournaments, we will do some more in-depth videos, and I'm hoping to start doing live streaming of games at tournaments, or possibly recording the games and overlaying them with a commentary, so you can get an insight into at least why I'm making my decisions and see how many daft decisions that I actually do in a game. That could be quite informative, and giving you a rough idea what I think the other opponent is doing, so you can see how my mind thinks, and you can either adopt that or stay well away from it, depending on what you think. I have a video coming up fairly shortly about scenery. So if you're new to bolt action, what scenery you might like to think about. I've been talking about buildings here just to get us started. We'll see if that's of use to anybody. We're also going to carry on with the how to play bolt action series, which is the going through the missions from the introductory set. Now, the introductory set, fantastic value for money if you've got somebody to share it with, and it gives you all the rules you need to get yourself started. So remember, the introductory set, you don't get the in-depth rules because you don't get the full rule book, but you get enough rules for you to be able to play the game and turn up and have some really good fun with somebody. You get a few models, doesn't cost terribly much, and And that's a great way to get into bolt action if there's anybody actually new on here altogether. What else have we got coming? What else have we got coming? We'll have a look for some of you guys that have been playing for a little while. We'll have a look at some of the top lists. When I say top lists, the winning lists at tournaments that I attend. I usually attend about one tournament a month. And I'm going to step down from trying to play too competitively and thinking more of how I can help you guys and what content I can get at these tournaments. So one of the things would be looking at the winning lists. I've done a couple of those already, but I think maybe breaking them down and trying to explain how the list works tactically might be of use to you. So let us know about that. At some stage also, I would like to set up our own little community so we can help all the new guys that are getting in here and they have a little bit of a safer space to get together and ask those questions. I think some of the groups and boards online for bolt action, some of us older guys that have been playing for a while can be a little impatient, and it can be a little bit intimidating, I think, if you're new to the game to kind of actually get out there and ask that question. So we'll be doing some bits and pieces with that as well. Now, let me have a look online here, see if we've got any other questions we can use for just now. Everybody is so kind. Let's have a look. The video. Yeah, we know that. That's lovely. Follow-up question about Panzerfaust. This was a nice question from, I did a little series on Panzerfaust rules. I've got another Panzerfaust video, shape charge video, really coming out very shortly, just to show you how effective they can be against troops and buildings. Now, we don't really have troops going into buildings very much at the moment. However, if they do, you don't just need HE. Shape charge acts as HE on a building, but watch out for the video for that one. What is the follow-up questions? What about Panzerfaust as a defensive asset for an infantry unit? You know you'll have to be aggressive with. Is it a thing or is it a good idea? Let's try and work that one out. As a defensive asset. So Panzerfaust is a defensive asset. Yes, I think it is a good fun. First of all, you have to have an army that has access to Panzerfaust. So we're talking Italians, Germans, and Soviets. They have access to Panzerfaust. They're defensive in that if you put even just one Panzerfaust in a unit, it means the armor is not going to come within about 18 inches of you unless they make a mistake. So it can help you to control area on the board. You can use them aggressively, but that wasn't the question here. But you can use them defensively. It's going to keep armor away from you. Now, you don't always want armor to keep away from you. Sometimes it's nice to tease it in close and give it a little surprise with something, especially like a Panzerfaust. Panzerfausts are particularly good on ambush if you're particularly on a built-up table where there's a lot of scenery, lots of places to hide. Put a wee unit that has a Panzerfaust on ambush, possibly going to stop somebody coming down a road if you're hiding behind. So if you want to keep the armor away from you, which, as I say, isn't always what you want to do, but if you want to keep it away, yeah, you can use Panzerfaust defensively. And remember, parking behind a house, anybody goes into that house, as you will see in an up-and-coming video, that Panzerfaust is going to fire at point blank, so it'll hit on 2. Panzerfaust will do D6 hits. It's an HE, and I think it's a +2. It hits as a +2 HE, so you're getting +2 rather than the +6 for the armor penetration, but you get a +2. But inside a house, because it's HE, there are no cover saves. So if you've got a hard unit sitting inside a house defending an objective, Shape charge can be a good way to shift them or cripple them ready for a charge. What else have we got? No more questions up there yet. Let's have a wee look down here. Let me just double check. Nope, doesn't look as though we do. Let's have a look what else is on been sent in. So on the lists I've been doing, the 500 point lists, somebody's commenting he hasn't seen any armor platoons or recce platoons or heavy weapon platoons. Generally at 500 points, you'll be lucky to get another platoon in. It is possible, but we've kind of stayed away from that because in a box of a platoon box, you don't get an awful lot of heavy weapons. You quite often get a light mortar sometimes. You might get a bazooka. You might get Panzerfausts. You might get enough bits that you can make up a medium machine gun. And what else might you get in there? That's kind of the only weapons you're going to get in that platoon box. So if you're going up to these other units, it's when we expand usually out of that sort of 400, 500 point ceiling that we start looking for other things to put in there. Remember, with an armor platoon, at 500 points, you're not going to get two vehicles in there. That's actually not true. You could get two recce jeeps, for example, which wouldn't cost very much. So it would be possible to do an armored platoon, but it certainly is a little bit more difficult. But we'll look at that when we move up to higher points cost. What else have we got in there? That was really nice, that comment. Now, another thing somebody was talking about was historical lists, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to replicate historical lists or platoons as they actually were. In fact, this is one of the ways I actually got into bolt action, was doing recreating commando units and commando raids with the actual stuff they had, and I really loved doing that. And at one stage, I got a little bit peeved with losing quite so much and thought, okay, I've had my historical moment. I want to go and win a game. So we had to go at winning a few games. But nothing wrong with doing the historical list. Sometimes there are one or two historical tournaments or themed tournaments, which can be great fun. There's one in Scotland called Megatron, where we still play. You've got to pick one list, one of the themed lists out of one of the theatre or campaign books. Nobody else can play the same list. It's quite a big tournament. There's about 40 players in it, maybe. It's quite a popular one, run by Alistair Unicom up here in Scotland. Some of you will know him. Some of the international guys will know him as Captain of Scotland. And it's a great tournament, and it's not quite themed, but you're picking a themed list. There are the British Historical Society with their tournaments, Roll Call, BritCon, I forgot what the other one is. They run, you choose a kind of historical list, and they're quite good fun. But run with what you want. If you run a historical list, it's worth running it by your opponent if you're going to play at the club or play a friendly game. It's not as much fun if you bring a nice historical army and they just bring a really strong, overpowered army, because we are playing for fun at the end of the day. And sometimes if your army's overpowered, have a chat with your pals. I did used to take historical lists for quite a long time to tournaments, and I did all right with them, particularly a Dutch 1941 list, which was interesting to play. And it was picked when I first started the channel 8 years ago. It was voted the hardest list to win with. So it was a historical list, and it did actually really well, and I really enjoyed that list. And I don't know if you've seen the video that I've got where Bo has done my army army lists for my next tournament in a couple of weeks. It's a free French army list, and that's sort of historical. If you go and look at Bo's, go and have a look at Bo's video on what he chose and why he chose. That's quite interesting. So that's going to be fun. So again, that's more content that we're going to have coming to you. I need to paint up 1 or 2 figures if I can get the time to do that, and we'll be running and showing you how that list's run and how I play them, assuming I get a place at the tournament, because I'm running as a spare man at this tournament. If I don't play it at this next tournament in a couple of weeks, I'll be playing it at the following tournament, just so we can have a look at that. But these things are all part of what makes bolt action fantastic. But what really makes it fantastic is you guys out there, the community, and the feedback I get. Feedback I'm getting on the phone is fabulous. It's really nice, the time all you guys take. I really do appreciate it an awful lot. And I'll be dragging in the wife to help me in a few weeks, because I've got so much correspondence going on here with various people. It makes it quite difficult. And then I've got people asking me for advice on army lists. Remember, I ain't the best player in the world. I've played a lot of games, but it doesn't make me the best player. But yeah, I've seen most of the things. So yeah, if you do have questions, send them in. We will find time to look at lists. If you go into a particular tournament, we'll give you a little bit of advice. You can take it or fit. But yeah, we'll be happy to have a look at those lists. I've had a wee bit of success with one of our followers just recently, turned up at the tournament, and I think he came did he come fourth? I think he came fourth. Where was it? I can't remember where it was now. I think it might have been Holland, but so he felt I had a little bit of success. I don't know if I really helped that much. Maybe gave him a little bit of confidence. Either that or he's playing lucky dice. But always happy to try and help you guys at any time as much as we can, especially as we're trying to kick the YouTube site off here and, provide the information that some of you guys are looking for. So all you guys are a bit quiet out there at the moment. That's fantastic. While I've got you here, have you any ideas about what you might like us to cover next week for you? If you have, drop it in the comments. If not, if I don't have anything else, what will I do for next week? Well, somebody asked me about the rules for cover. Now, I've just done a little video on cover from the introductory game set, but we'll cover yeah, we'll cover in the next video. And if you've got any other little suggestions there, add them in, and we will add another little section in there for you. Also, what I'd love to hear about, because we just started these live sessions, is what do you guys want to hear? Do you want to hear other players, other celebrities, this is the long word, but other well-known faces from the world of bolt action? Do you want me to ask questions to them? What is it you would like to see? Because it's not terribly entertaining. Listen to me sitting here talking away. I'm an old fella. You want to hear what's going on. So I really want to know what you want here, because the whole idea with the WarHQ is that we're doing it for you guys. We're not doing it for me. We're doing it for you. Want to give you what you want to see as much as we can. Now, I'm running out of useful stuff to say here. I don't want to witter on terribly much. So let's have a look and see what else we've got on here. Okay. So just to kick us off to tonight and finish off for tonight, girls and boys, if you want me to script an army list review section or produce a full PDF package for tonight, just let me know. And sort of that's us for tonight. Genuinely good chat this evening. Some cracking questions in there I hadn't thought about in a while. Some of those, which makes this worth doing, gives me a little bit of content coming up. Oh, hold on a second. Caractacus, 67. Oh, you beginner. You're just a pup. It's never too old to start playing this game. I am approaching your age, sir. So we would be considered compatriots. And no, 67, definitely not too old to start playing. In fact, fantastic age to start playing and doing historical, whatever you want to do. Really not a barrier. Find some people who will play on the, where are you correct? Because white, I think. So yeah, get out there and start playing. The more us old dudes are kicking those young dudes, the better it is. So, quick recap of tonight. The priority target system for running a solo opponent. The missions that actually work: first contact, top secret, hold until relieved. And why building your opponent list to counter yours is where the real training value comes from. If you take one thing away from this, take that debrief habit. Play the game, write it down. What broke, fix it. That's the work. If tonight was useful, and I hope it was, please hit the like and subscribe button below. It'll be somewhere below this. And it generally helps the channel, and it means you'll be notified the moment we go live next Sunday, and you'll be notified when any of the videos drop. So next week, we're back here, same time, 8:30 GMT. I'll be posting a topic in the community tab during the week, so keep an eye out for that and get your questions in early. Any questions for tonight, drop them in the comments below the stream, and I will work on getting answers to all of them. And if you want the game plan sheet that I mentioned in some of my other videos, just shove game plan sheet on the bottom. And take care, guys, and talk to you all soon. Thank you very much for tonight.